Welcome to today's episode of Kirby Month. Today's topic, Kirby Star Allies. One of the most controversial and divisive entries in the series. So let's begin. The first thing I want to talk about is the basic plot details. And the basic plot is simple. Basically, this mysterious person is doing something strange, which is never really explained because it always gets explained near the end of the game. He's doing something strange, and something goes wrong, causing Dreamlanders to become possessed. So you need to go through a bunch of worlds and save the Dreamlanders to get to the bottom of it. So now, let's get into the actual stuff about the game. Starting off, the gimmicks. As you can tell, you can use friends in this game, which allows for 4-player co-op, and I like this idea. And I would have liked it more, though, if it wasn't literally just the same thing as helpers from Kirby Superstar and Superstar Ultra. Like, it's still fun, even though I've never really done the 4-player co-op myself. It's a good game on that area. But there are also certain sections where you need to use more than 2 friends, actually even 4 friends, in certain combinations, creating different forms. The Friend Bridge, the Friend Star, the Starlight Sparkler at the very end of the game, the Friend Train, and one other I'm forgetting. And I like this idea quite a bit, if it wasn't so underutilized. Things like the robot armor appeared in pretty much every stage. So, it was very interesting, and when it came back, you were excited to be able to use it, even though the Friend Star almost never gets the time to be properly utilized. Don't worry, we'll be talking about this feature later. So next, there's the level design. And that's where I'm going to tear this game a new one. Kirby Star Allies' level design is some of the worst in the entire series. I don't mean it's bad, I mean it's really bad. It's pretty much the opposite of what it was like back in Dreamland 3. Dreamland 3 was incredibly aggravating due to its subtlety and difficulty. No, this game is the exact opposite. It's too easy. I know every Kirby game is easy, but this is the sort of stuff even a 3-year-old wouldn't be entertained by. The game is incredibly dull. In fact, of every single level, there's only one part that's truly memorable for being fun. And that happens in World 3, when the entire world is being destroyed, so you have to use these little gimmicks like Friend Star to get out and go through different past areas, which is actually really cool. And really good game design, and clever callbacks throughout the world. I quite enjoyed that, but that was really the only part that I really did enjoy when it came to this game's level design. Which is a real shame. Because the past few games had amazing level design. Some of the best level design I've seen in 2D platformers. Which is quite the shame. Next, let's talk about some of the new abilities. Because you can't have a Kirby game without new abilities. And this game had 4 new abilities. Festival, which is essentially just Crash, except the enemies drop the little point stars that give you lives. Except this game already showers you in lives, so you don't need them anyway. Spider, which you can actually see me utilizing right now, which is quite fun, but not the greatest ability out there. Because it's really only good against enemies, and doesn't really work that well against bosses. Artist unfortunately falls into a camp that a lot of abilities recently have been falling into. One ability every game pretty much has this problem. And that's the fact that it's too complicated. It has too many moves and they're all really confusing to execute. And now we get to the one ability that got everything right. Return to Dream had water, Triple Deluxe had pretty much everything, honestly. Planet Robot had ESP, and this game has Staff. Staff is pretty much just Yo-Yo, but a little bit worse. But considering Yo-Yo is already in my top 10 abilities, that's nothing to scoff at. It has insane range and combo ability, and it's just really, really fun. So overall, I gotta give this game credit. It's got an okay ability roster. It could be worse. I'd still say the Modern Era Return to Dreamland had the worst. But to be honest, it's not bad at all. Now, once you get to the late game does get really dark. And I quite like it, as it turns out that everything that you've been facing is part of a certain group, or dare I say, a cult. Yeah, this game's pretty dark. That is pretty much determined to bring back Void Termina, an extremely powerful being that's pretty much a titan in this game. And, yeah. And you need to fight it at the end of the game, and it's one of the best final bosses in the series. Oh, forgot the spoiler warning, whoops. It's a really, really great fight. So, how is the post-game? Well, in the post-game, you get the guest star mode, which I'm playing right now, where you can play through as any of the helpers you can use throughout the entire game, including the Dream Friends. Which, yes, we're going to get to the Dream Friends soon enough. I don't actually mind this. It's actually a pretty fun mode, even if the new areas they added, like this one, still are just okay. And I like the idea of finding upgrades throughout the levels. Even if it can be massive whiplash to go from max power speed to none. It can be massive whiplash, which is not good. But it's still a fun mode. And now let's talk about the sub-games, as the game includes two, Chop Champs and Star Slam Heroes. Star Slam Heroes is incredibly simple. It's just a quick time event game, where you try to time your inputs perfectly to knock a meteor as far as you can into space. It's kinda like Megaton Punch, if you know what I mean. Even down to the fact that it's a QTE minigame, showing that Kirby is absolutely overpowered. Because, Kirby knocks them light years away. Light years away. Which is kind of shocking. Then again, he can split planets in half, so who can question that? And Chop Champs, which is a bit more complicated, but it's not that much either. It's as simple as can be, really. You just mash A and try to chop wood down, but try to swap where you're chopping the wood so you don't get hurt, and try to chop as much as you can. It's quite fun, to be honest. Though, it's still really simple. Which is kind of its big issue. And one final mode you get for unlocking and for beating the main story is the Ultimate Choice. The Ultimate Choice is solid. It's pretty much this game's boss rush, but it gives you multiple difficulties, going up all the way to the aptly titled Soul Melter. It's pretty good, and I like how you can choose your difficulties, even though I'm very comfortable with the Arena and True Arena. It's great. But now, those past modes like Guest Star Mode and the Ultimate Choice are great ways to get this game's main collectible, puzzle pieces, which basically allow you to create puzzles. And they're pretty interesting. They play different variants of songs that have appeared in the past throughout the series, and I quite like that idea. But the thing I personally like the most about them is how they all have different styles, and they're created by multiple people. Every painting is different. Unfortunately, it does mean some are a lot better than others. You know some of the ones that look really ugly. And they do play a variety of music from the series, which I do appreciate. It's pretty good. And I'll admit it's probably the best of these gimmicks. Of these collectibles. But now, we have to talk about the Dream Friends. As you can see, we have D by our side. And this coincides with the game's big thing, the Dream Friends. Over time, the game added one character from every mainline entry, known as the Dream Friends, with their own movesets referencing previous games. And it's pretty cool. We got Rick, Kine, and Koo from Dreamland 2, Gooey from Dreamland 3, Marks from Superstar, and then in Wave 2, we got Adeline from Kirby's Dreamland 3, not Dreamland 3, Kirby 64, Dark Meta Knight from Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Darroch from Squeak Squad, And in Wave 3, we got Magalore from Return to Dreamland, Taranza from Triple Deluxe, and finally, Susie from Planet Robobot. And a secret Dream Friend you get for the final mode they added. So, what is next up? Well, unfortunately though, this also leads to the game's biggest issue. A release it first, finish it later attitude. This is something Nintendo's been doing a lot with major titles, and Star Allies was the one that bothered me the most. With Animal Crossing New Horizons, it was my first Animal Crossing game, so it didn't bother me that much. With Star Allies, this game had such lacking good content that it got somewhat enraging. And it is undoubtedly the biggest problem with the game. So, yeah, the Dream Friends are really fun little fan service to their previous games, and I think it's the best executed fan service in the series. But they did add a couple more modes, including Heroes in Another Dimension. Safe to say, this mode is absolutely amazing. It's pretty much a mode where the game tests your knowledge of different abilities and Dream Friends, and you have to solve puzzles with them to collect friend hearts, and go in a grueling final battle. The final battle here is one of the most insane of the entire series. It's been known for dropping the frame rate to ridiculous numbers, so the game does work pretty well. And then there's also the secret final boss rush they added, Soul Melter EX. Pretty much the final boss rush, and it's quite fun, to be honest. Though it is brutal unless you use the massively overpowered Dream Friends. And finally, the big thing this game did, the lore. This game had insane lore, as the final boss fight reveals so much about what Kirby truly is that it changes what the lore is forever. I won't really go into it here, but the lore is the best part about this game, hands down. And it's probably the best story the series has ever told, and probably my best stories ever made. Yeah, move over, Steven Universe and Gravity Falls. You got competition. So with all that gone over, I think Star Allies is a mixed experience. It's got great music. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about the music because most of the best stuff is reused. But it did have my favorite song in the series. I think it's got solid music, great boss fights, but the game's big issues are massively glaring. The fact that it took until November 30th for this game to truly be complete, keep in mind the game released on March 16th, really does bother me. I might have gotten my hopes up too much because I played Superstar Ultra waiting for my pre-order to come, which you can probably guess so far is my favorite game if you've been paying attention. But overall, I feel like as a game, Star Allies works, and I do enjoy it, but it's a massive hurdle to get over. And it's not really a game I'd recommend to newer players, because its problems, and because the main things that I could see this game appealing to are stuff that's more for older fans. Like all the fan service they do. Which kind of disappoints me, especially when the last entry, Planet Robobot, was the perfect starting game. So it's a game, where do I stand on it? I stand on it being good. If you're a major Kirby fan, this is a fantastic game. But if you're a newer one, I don't really see this one being very high on your must-play list. So overall, I'm not going to be disclosing where it lands on my series ranking anymore. Because now, I'm not going to because we're entering the final stretch. I'm going to try to keep things secret. So, yeah, next we'll be reviewing Super Kirby Clash. I'll see you then.